Hello everyone, this is Scarzig and welcome back to another episode of Duelyst. I'm back to my old grind and I've been testing some Healynar lately. And I figure I'd show you what I came up with. We've got 2 Aegis Barrier, 2 Sundrop Elixir, 3 Healing Mystic, 3 Light Chaser. Now this is pretty interesting because normally it's pretty hard to make Light Chaser proc, but with this deck Light Chaser serves multiple purposes. It does have the chance to snowball, of course, where you can beef it up, maybe it gets a really fat hit in, but mostly this just kind of trades into things that are troublesome, right? Because a 2-mana 3/2 just kind of cleans up the board for us. Every once in a while we can get it to pump up, but we aren't relying on it like you would, say, a Chakri Avatar. This isn't one of the main threats of the deck. This is just something that sometimes gets beefed up and can be real trouble for the opponent. This is also a dispel magnet, a removal magnet. The other combo with Light Chaser is that if it does get beefed up really big, maybe you slap an Aegis Barrier on it and your opponent can't deal with it. And if you combo it with Radiant Dragoon, when it's a 3/3, sometimes that's a higher chance of sticking around. So the way I have this deck set up, Light Chaser is a bit sturdier. I've got 2 Lucent Beam. These let you take out stray, pyromancers or range units like that. Ping something to finish it off. Every once in a while you'll get that 4 damage when you really need it to kill something big, or sometimes you just go face with it. So Lucent Beam just brings a nice little bit of utility to the deck. We've got a couple Sunblooms in here, just for the utility. Just having an AoE Dispel can be nice, and the 2x2 is really easy to place most of the time so that you aren't hitting your own stuff. We've got 3 Windblade Adept, of course. I was thinking the other day that maybe I could swap these out for Fizz, that battle pet with the Healing Mystic opening gambit, but I think that Windblade Adept is actually slightly stronger than Fizz, simply because you can choose what it trades into, and then you have a 4/3 that you could possibly heal back up and then keep it going from there. And it's harder to get Fizz to go face when you need him to. We've got 2 Blistering Scorn. This is just for dealing with Swarm, again taking out Pyromancers or Snow Chasers, things like that. And this allows us to damage our own units so that we can heal them if need be. The 1 ping from Blistering Scorn also lets our general clean up 2 drops, 2/3s and whatnot. We've got 2 Martyrdom. This is just for dealing with big threats. You want to try to play these early, because once you have your opponent whittled down, if you are forced to play a Martyrdom, that might take them out of your kill range, and that's always kind of bad, but we kind of have to include these because the deck needs removal. We do have 3 Radiant Dragoon in this deck. After some experimenting, I realized how strong this card really is. By giving something +1 HP, that just creates more pressure on the minions that we play. It makes them harder for our opponent to deal with and remove, gives them a higher chance of sticking around so that we can heal them and get those procs that we really need. I already mentioned Radiant Dragoon. Lets Light Chaser stick around, but on 6 mana, maybe you can play 2 Radiant Dragoons, and then you get 2 3/5s, and it's really good when it procs on Silverguard Knight, making it into a 3/6. Silverguard Knight is just a staple overall. Really solid card. We've got 3 Holy Immolation, because this is just a great card. I don't even really need to describe it. I was running 3 Sunrisers as well, and once I started running into a lot of Vitruvian and some pretty tricky matchups where I was like, man, I could really just use an AoE Dispel, I was like, man, I better put in the Light Bender. Even though this is a bit trickier to play around your own units with, normally when you need the Light Bender, it's because it's do or die. So hitting your own stuff is a worthy payoff for possibly Light Bender bailing you out of a bad situation. And Sunriser, you kind of want to save it for combos anyway, so you don't really need 3 because you don't need to draw them all the time. We've got 2 Circle of Life for the heal and as a pseudo removal. What's really nice about Circle of Life that I enjoy is that if something is really big, say Inquisitor Kron, right? You want to take out Inquisitor Kron, you hit it with Circle of Life. It deals 5 damage and then you heal yourself for 5. And then if you're forced to make that last hit with your general, because you healed yourself for 5, that retaliation damage doesn't sting as much. And then this is just a nice way to go sort of neutral with Amera healers if you don't get your dispels when you need them, that kind of stuff. So this is really nice utility. We've got 2 Ironcliff Guardians and 2 Solarius for card draw. Ironcliff Guardian's really good in this deck because the airdrop lets us, you know, make really strategic plays where we place it, and the 10 HP gives it a much higher chance of it sticking around and your opponent can't deal with it. Waiting for 6 mana and playing Ironcliff Guardian with Aegis Barrier. In the Songhai matchup, pretty much instant wins for you. And then Vitruvian, you don't have to worry about your stuff getting Dominate Willed or Entropic Decayed, that kind of stuff. So let's get right in here. I actually haven't seen Songhai for a long time. I'm wondering if I should keep these, maybe just keep 1 Sunbloom. Interesting. If I play the Radiant Dragoon going first, I'll lose a proc of its effect. But because it has 4 HP, my opponent can't take it out with Phoenix Fire. Wow. Since he played defensively like that, what I could also do is move forward, play the Radiant Dragoon on the tile, and then slap an Aegis Barrier on it. Because it would be completely out of reach. He would need to do something fancy. Let me see, move on. At 4 mana, what could he do? 4 mana, Inner Focus, Killing Edge. He'd have to have exactly that. Or I could just go double 2-drop, standard opening. Let's go with this since we have such a good advantage, and then we can draw a card from the Aegis Barrier. I'll replace that second Light Chaser too. Perfect. Since I wanted to keep the Windblade Adept and the Light Chaser for a follow-up turn when I'm on 4 mana next turn, that's why I didn't replace first. And we want to hold on to that Sunbloom. One thing I've learned with this deck is to hold on to Solarius when you draw them, and to hold on to your Dispels when you get them as much as possible. Because every time I replace Solarius, I go, oh, you know, I want to round out my hand a little bit better. Solarius, it's a bit too early for him. Then it never comes back into my hand when I need it. You see, so he's sort of in a little bit of a predicament here. Radiant Dragoon, and then Aegis Barrier. And so this thing has a really significant chance of sticking around. And then it's just going to be buffing my units. This seems to be some sort of ranged variant where it's just going to be relying on probably arrow whistlers and whatnot. So he Mana Vortex and Mist Dragon Sealed to bring the Shiro Puppy Dragon back into this corner to buff the Veil Hunter. And because of the Aegis Barrier, that Phoenix Fire just goes right on my face instead. My opponent actually used a lot of cards in their hand. Mana Vortex allows them to kind of recoup a little bit of that cost, but at 4 mana, what I can do here is just move closer, develop the board, and Sunbloom. I probably don't even want to move the Radiant Dragoon forward. Just keep it alive so it can heal my peeps. And yeah, we'll play this. Do I want to hold the Light Chaser? Or maybe get a bit more utility? I do have my Afterglow coming up next turn, and I'll be at 5 mana, so I could go Sunriser. I'm not looking for any specific answers, so I could probably just hold on to it. If I wanted to be really, really safe, I could probably move the Radiant Dragoon just back here, or like up this way, to get this mana tile for me. So that was probably a better play, honestly. Because Songhai relies on damage and, like, you know, their tricky spells and whatnot to deal with threats, and generally don't run Dispel. And because he's spell immune, he's not going to be able to hit him with Onyx Bear Seal either. Their other way to deal with threats. And cleaning up that corner with the Sunbloom is actually a lot of value. We take care of Shiro Puppy Dragon's effect, Veil Hunter's effect, and the buff that it received. And so, look, he's forced to use all of his units. The Shiro Puppy Dragon fully trades into the Windblade Adept, which is another reason that it's slightly better than Fizz, is because that 4 attack allows it to trade into units that Fizz cannot. And this is a melee unit, so I'm not really too worried about this thing. I can just step down and kill it for free, though. Might as well. Yeah, then I guess I can develop the Light Chaser, get this going, and we'll Lucent Beam that. One of the ways you deal with Songhai is you deny targets on the board. You try to keep their board as clear as possible, and then they have nothing to put their buffs on, they have nothing to juxtaposition and do all kinds of fancy stuff with. And again, the Radiant Dragoon procs on the Light Chaser, make it into a 3-3. It'll still die to Phoenix Fire, of course, but now he's forced to have that Phoenix Fire instead of just stepping forward, going with this general attack. One of the interesting things as well, even though I'm starting to run low on cards, I have such a strong board, and with Radiant Dragoon here, it's just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. Because of all the healing I have in the deck, these minions are just going to be able to trade into really big stuff and survive and then get healed. So this is kind of how the deck, how my style of this deck that I finally hit on wants to play, where you just build up your board. That was one of the things that Healynar typically struggles with. 4, 5, 6. I wish I could get 2 procs so that the Sworn Sister would die. That would be the dream. I could replace the Sunriser and hope for Holy Immolation, or I could replace the Healing Mystic and hope for Sundrop Elixir, right? Or Lucent Beam. That would work as well. But I think that we'll just keep on keeping on, because what we can do is just Healing Mystic ourselves, and then Afterglow this Windblade Adept. So the Light Chaser is really strong now, and the Dragoon's still proccing. My opponent does have 5 cards in hand, though. He's managed to kite me around here a little bit, where I've had to close the distance, but he had to give up all the mana, basically, in order to do that, to play defensive, because he couldn't deal with the Radiant Dragoon opening play. So we were really rewarded for that, because we saw on his next turn, after he did that play with the Shiro Puppy Dragon, yada yada, he did have the Phoenix Fire, so he could have done something cheeky, maybe with the Phoenix Fire plus whatever, to kill the Radiant Dragoon. And I didn't mind using the Afterglow last turn, because you can see it's getting ready to come back up. And now, next turn, I'll have Sunriser, play that, Windblade Adept, attack, heal, Sunriser procs, then Lucent Beam. So let me see. He'll have to step back here to create as much distance as possible between the Light Chaser and the Radiant Dragoon. And so they won't be able to get into the fight for another turn. So he is buying himself a lot of time with these plays. Holy cow. Not bad. Ephemeral Shroud. That's how you get around Aegis Barrier. That's something you actually don't see a lot in Songhai. But it survives with 1 HP. Now the question here is, do I want to just clean this up or just go ham? Let me see. Let me calculate this, because I've got 5, well 6. How many heal procs can I get? I've got 4. If I play the Sunriser, I think that this has got to be lethal, right? Because I can move here, 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 here. Then Windblade attacks, gets healed. Yeah, then the Sunriser procs. I attack, the Healing Mystic attacks, then the Light Chaser attacks, and the Lucent Beam goes through. When you heal, Lucent Beam does 4 damage instead of 2 damage. So that's just a huge burst turn from us to close out the game. Our opponent, again, was playing like a ranged variant where they want to spread out their forces and then develop ranged units on either side of you. And then it like splits you, and then you don't know which side to deal with. But I actually tried to make a deck like that before, and if you draw well, then you just go off, right? Because your opponent can't deal with all of the ranged threats that you're putting out for them. But that Sunbloom really put us ahead early because he clumped up in the corner. And the other thing with that ranged deck, because like I said, I tried it myself, if you just go ham, if you just go in and just ignore whatever they're doing and go face, then you just win the matchup. I think here we can actually get rid of both Sunrisers because we can just walk forward, play the Silverguard Knight above the tile, and try to ramp into Ironcliff. Ooh, now that we've got the Aegis Barrier, I could probably hold off on that, because if I can play Ironcliff Guardian Aegis Barrier in this matchup, it's really hard for Vitruvian to deal with that. They can't use Siphon Energy because it targets a minion directly. They can't use Entropic Decay or Dominate Will like I was talking about. They have to jump through some hoops with like Falcius buffing them and yada yada yada. So first things first, we'll replace the Sundrop Elixir. He kind of made a misplay here. What you normally do is you play Pax on this center mana. And what that does is it forces your opponent to play something on the center mana here. Because if they play above or below, Pax trades into whatever, and there's a chance that the Dervish that spawns when it dies will spawn on this mana. So playing Pax generally forces you to take this mana. Just because its Dying Wish can take the mana for you. Which is one of the reasons it makes Pax such a strong battle pet, is that it can kinda take mana tiles for you when other battle pets couldn't. I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking if I want to put Aegis Barrier on this thing. Nah. It's not worth it, because Ironcliff Aegis Barrier is just so strong, I think we can hold out for it. And because it going down to 3 like that, there's always a chance he could just move forward right now, play a Falcius, and just slap this thing. If Vitruvian gets like their dream opening like this, where they go Pax and then into Falcius to kill whatever you played, or they develop a Fireblaze Obelisk the next turn to buff the Dervishes they just got, it allows them to like snowball the early game super duper hard. It's something that this deck has trouble with because you need to draw into Holy Immolations in order to deal with the amount of swarm they're putting out. And with Lightbender, it kind of helps the matchup a bit, just in case he starts getting a bunch of, obelisks down. But we do pull a Tiger out of him, so that's pretty good. We don't need Circle of Life. I guess we can just do this for now. We, of course, play the Blistering Scorn here on the mana tile. It allows the Light Chaser to dodge that 1 ping of damage, but he can just trade this Iron Dervish and his General if he wants to, or, again, Falcius. Such a strong card. I mentioned this in my Budget Hero series. Falcius is so good because not only does it buff your General and allow him to trade up into stuff, you develop a 3/3 alongside it. So it's basically like deal 4 damage to something, summon a 3/3. Kinda, sorta. So we do have the Lucent Beam. I could be cheeky here. I can Afterglow this Iron Dervish, then Lucent Beam the Inquisitor Kron, and then hit it. And that would take out the Inquisitor Kron. The heal from the Iron Dervish would bump this up to a 4/3. Then I could just step back and kill the prisoner. In the next turn, I've got Iron Cliff Aegis Barrier. So let's replace the second Iron Cliff and see if we get anything a little bit better for us. Healing Mystic. Do I still have enough? Let me see. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, I could do that. 2, 4, because the Healing Mystic would hit for me. That way I can just heal myself, take some of the sting off of this play. Again, we're saving the Aegis Barrier for Ironcliff Guardian next turn. And what's nice about this play is I can kill this prisoner and then heal my Light Chaser up. An alternate play would be to just put the Aegis Barrier on the Light Chaser. It's just that Vitruvian sometimes runs Ephemeral Shroud as a dispel to go alongside their Siphon Energies, and Ephemeral Shroud would just blow that away. So it's better to play the Ironcliff Aegis Barrier combo instead and force him to have that Ephemeral Shroud. It might even buy some time for the Light Chaser to get beefed up a bit more. Wow, another Kron. It's dirty. And this Light Chaser is almost strong enough to one-shot that thing. Ooh, do I want to do that? Because if I Healing Mystic, right, then I'd be floating my on-curve play for this turn. And if I do that with Kron being alive, because I have 3/10, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have to find 4 more damage. I think that this play brings such strong tempo to the table that I can afford to leave Kron alive for one more turn. So we're going to do that. And luckily he got the Provoke Prisoner, so my Healing Mystic can actually take out that prisoner. And Solarius next turn is actually pretty nice. And I hit there so that the Ironcliff can finish it off next turn. Or if I get a Holy Immolation or something, it'll be softened up already. And because he replaced, he doesn't have anywhere to summon an Ephemeral Shroud to dispel the Ironcliff Guardian, so we can just sit here and stalemate Provoke land for a little bit. Nope, you gotta attack that thing. And I could easily, instead of Ironcliff Guardian, have Inquisitor Krons of my own, right? But I think that Ironcliff Guardian being a 3/10 just makes it so good. Oh, that Silent Second Wish, that's really dirty. Falcius? Damn, he had the answer. Vitruvian is a faction that can pull 10 damage out if they really want to. Oh god. Our Lord who art in heaven, please give me a Holy Immolation. I have 3 copies. Lucent Beam would work too. And I'm wondering if I want to hold on to the Solarius. Yeah. We'll replace the Radiant Dragoon. Circle of Life. Neat. So he gets beefed up. Then he attack. Heal. Alright. I'm trying to close out the game here because at these higher mana costs, this is when Vitruvian starts to get into their, like, Amera healers, that kind of stuff, where they get really hard to finish off. Because I could have gone there is attacking with my general and then the Light Chaser to take out the Dejected Thrall, the Force Field minion, which is like the S tier, like best Inquisitor Kron spawn you can get. That's a bit my fault though, because I did let the Kron live so that I could get another spawn. But I'm kind of confident here that I can do, Ooh, Circle of Life. That's kind of what I wanted to see. Is that what I wanted to see? It'll heal him to 15. But I'll get to go neutral health. This was sort of what I was talking about. And it feels really bad, but I think I'm going to have the Falcius have that 3-1 trade into my 2-3. I'm going to back off and just get some cards with the Solarius. Or try to. Again, this is one of the harder matchups. Because they pull ahead like this in the late game from you. Wow. And they have more card draw. That's the thing. I'm running Solarius. It's really hard to fit card draw into this deck because Sunwisp has anti-synergy with Healynar. It's normally a good source of draw, but because Blistering Scorn will kill it, and it only has 1 HP, so that you can't trade into it. You can't damage a Sunwisp and then try to heal it unless Radiant Dragoon procs on it, which is highly unlikely. This is really unfortunate. Because even if I replace Solarius, right, and get a 2-drop, and then I do 2-drop Holy Immolation, I'd have to do it here to get out of this corner. Then I walk 2 this way, then I'm still in range of 4, yeah, so. What am I looking for here? Silhouette Tracer, which I don't have in the deck, would be nice. Ironcliffe Guardian. I think I could get away with that. No, I can't provoke enough things. Dang. Silverguard Knight. Holy Immolation. Lightbender. I'm out of time. I roped. Would it have been better to Lightbender here? Holy Immolation? Probably. You know, I get the Dispel in the Force Field, but it doesn't matter. Well played. So thinking back, if I would have just developed a Healing Mystic and had the Light Chaser trade into the Inquisitor Kron, then maybe... maybe we would have taken a different line there, but I wasn't counting on him having the Scion Second Wish and the Falcius, which was, I mean, what can you do? He managed to clear the Iron Cliff. I thought that we'd be able to get more value out of it. But thank you for joining me, just showing off my new Healynar deck, and I will see you guys next time, maybe in the Budget Hero side of things. I'll see you then.